Well, thank you very much. I am Enrique Lizaso. I am the treasurer of the European Quantum Industry Consortium, the QuIC, from Europe, and that's some of the previous questions were about that. I will try to just introduce you to this European initiative that we are just trying to push forward, and all the details that you want to know and that I know. For you to know, I am the CEO of a startup there in quantum computing, which is multiverse computing, and that's me. So, you have already been introduced before to the QEDC, and QEDC is, let's say, it's older than us and more prepared. In Europe, what we are trying to just to have is this non-profit association, and this is an European, global European one. It's not only about the European Union, but also including some other non-European members as UK, Switzerland, Israel, and so on. And it's mostly based just on companies, which to the European standard is not essentially something new, but this is something that is kind of different from our previous initiatives. And that includes not only large companies from Europe, but also SMEs and startups. So what's about? This is, you have here, the idea is, okay, we have, in Europe, we think we have a deep science technological knowledge, and we want to foster not only the science itself, but also the companies. And the quantum computing in the companies means for us two things. One of them is just to use quantum technologies in our large and medium companies, but also is just to foster innovation, as we have already seen here in the Netherlands, rising a much larger number of startups. This is quite important for us. This is a change also in the paradigm that the way that Europeans has been doing the things before. Okay. So, and why that? Okay, this is the general reasons. It's about the economic growth and the appearance and the setting up of these new lines of activities that are going to foster the economy in the following years. And this is also has a social view of creating value, not only for the Europe as an entity, but also for the business and especially for the citizens. So, which are the benefits for the European Quantum Industry Consortium? First is the power of just getting a unique voice, an industry voice, which is important on quantum technologies in Europe. It's not only about science, it's not only about academics, it's also how to transform and give a voice for this, the point of view of the industry inside Europe. And that means also that this voice is informing the policies and the orientations of the different countries, and especially, even that this is a pan-European organization, the European Commission. And then, what's the benefits from being a large organization, which are the network and partnering? I mean, we already know what the power of just establishing a powerful network, like for example, giving some particular activities like the one we are having here, okay? And also the cooperation between the different members. Apart from that, the members from the QuIC, the QuIC has the regular rights of attending the assemblies, the voting, and depending, we have different levels of membership, from associate to full members, okay? So, the timeline, as you can see, we are nearly newborn, okay? On February 21st, okay, this was, there was a founding assembly, and you can see here that is already a mix between large and SMEs. I mean, we have here members from industry, also from services. We have even investors like Consortium. We have SMEs like ADQ, IQM, Q&Co, who has appeared before from the Netherlands, and which is also a member of the leadership team as us, and some others. In April 21st, we have our first General Assembly. Then we started accepting the membership application. We elected a government board there, and we proposed and discussed a budget that was later approved. And on June 21st was our extraordinary general assembly, the formal establishing of the budget. And this is something that corresponds precisely to me as a treasurer, and the approval of new members. And which is the situation so far? Okay, we are nearly 140 members in Europe. Okay, this is a pretty nice figure. And if you can have a look here, we have large companies, which in Europe we have some of them, comprises 22% of the members. So, but SMEs are 60%. So this association, as I told before, is not only about the large companies getting the outcomes on taking profit on the quantum technologies, let's say, revolution, but it's also about just improving and getting these SMEs to grow further, to grow stronger, and to be a power inside the quantum technology that the future refers to us. Okay? As you can see, academics, 60%, and other associations, 3%. So this is not exactly a government organization. This is a real industry, large and small organization. This is the power of the QuIC, and this is what we want to do. And the distribution, it's here. You can see that, okay, we have the usual large members of the Europe already being represented here. Okay, we can see that, for example, France is 9%. We can see that Germany is 25% as expected, but we have some other members like Spain, where I came from, with 14% of the members. Netherlands, already here, 9% is a power inside the QuIC, and we have some other members like UK, Switzerland, and even some non-European members, which is 3%. Our goal is, for sure, to make it even larger. So far, we have not done bad. I mean, in less than a year, we have nearly 140 members, paying members. I mean that, and in the near future, we want to expand even further. The figures are, for you to know, as you can see here, quite recent, from November last month. Okay. And the organization, I'm not going just to bore you with all the details, but we are organizing working groups. Okay, and these working groups are different. Work in different fields. For example, we have the market trends and user cases, and this is important for the large companies and the small companies to know where are the use cases that we may find in the quantum technologies field, but it's also relevant to inform the institutional powers just where the public funding should go regarding these particular use cases. We have work group number 2, for example, which is not working in subcommittees from the other one, is about intellectual property and trade, which is also important for Europe. We have some differences, as you know, between the IP patenting lines between Europe and the United States, and that's important. Okay, working group 6, also super important. This is the strategic industry roadmap, which is intently made just to inform the economic power of the European Union and the other countries about how the industry, how we foresee the future and the development. It's not only about an academic experience of just saying, okay, this is quite close to reality, this is what is close to the market. This is essentially also about what is happening in some other parts of the world and what is going to happen here. This is the case of quantum computing itself, which is, let's say, a bit far away from from a full-fledged quantum computer, but we have seen that here in the United States has appeared some unicorns. That means something. You have to take these points of view into account, and so on. Education, and have a look, for example, at work group 9, which is SMEs and funding, which is especially, this links perfectly well with what our colleague from the Netherlands and Quantum Delta has already said about we want 100 startups there. I mean, that means also that we have to foster, let's say, a real good funding and financial network for these startups to grow. If not, innovation is not going to happen. I mean, it's not only about, particularly from the point of view in the industry, about scientific excellence, it's also about having the financial tools to make this new or this scientific knowledge to grow as a company and position themselves in the global ecosystem. Okay, we have some other groups working in the ecosystem and some others working in QuIC-to-QuIC solutions. That means fostering the cooperation between the different companies that we have here. And finally, we have a work group, which is the number 10, given that, as you already know, Europe is a complex composition of different countries, and that means that we have to have our own national chapters that have to interact also with the local governments and try to foster the different initiatives and try to coordinate the voice of the industry in our own countries. Okay, you have here more details about some of the groups that we have seen so far. For example, this is also, you can see here education, the market use and cases, etc., etc. And the different ones. Okay. Internationally, I mean, we are a Western association, that's for sure. I mean, and, the goal of this slide is to demonstrate not only that we are just integrated in the sense that we are just trying to coordinate the different country associations that are in Europe, and you can see here QTAC, QT Quantum, QBN, or Le Lab Quantique from France, but also just to coordinate with the Quantum, for example, Industry Canada, and obviously the QEDC itself, and also QStar and so on. So these are also goals of the QuIC, and to foster this relationship and coordination with some other parts of the world. So, some words from our promoter, Europe. I mean, we want Europe to be, as you can see here, an attractive destination from the quantum technologies development. You can see here that our countries in Europe have dedicated large amounts of funding precisely for this kind of things. You can see here that Germany has published $3.1 billion for quantum technologies. Netherlands, I think that was here $177 million, maybe different. Okay, France, $2.2 billion. Sorry for me, I'm just changing to euros every time. Okay, and United Kingdom, 1.3 billion, and you can compare with the different figures from the rest of the world. But when you can see that, one of the things that you ask yourself, and this is one of the leading points of QuIC, is can we somehow coordinate that, or at least give the point of view in the industry, because this is going to be not only, I mentioned science, this is going to be an industry itself. So, and we have to make this time, I hope, different in Europe with this kind of technologies. So, and this is one of the goals of QuIC. But, as you can see here, the total amount of money that the European governments are just putting inside the quantum technology is real large. Okay, this is, I have to mention that in Europe we have a real, if somebody's plan to set up a startup, a real work-life balance, egalitarian, safe societies, different diversity of languages, cultures, and different mindsets, and for sure, sorry for me, but this is the town from Multiverse, this is San Sebastian, and you can see here the sailings and so on, and it lacks the surf. Yes, but you, yes, and that's important. We can find that. So, and the other thing is that we want to position is Europe, and this came from The Economist last week, as an attractive investment proposition, and that also means that QuIC has to help building this ideal in Europe. In fact, in Europe, we are improving from our previous state. Now I think we are at 80% of global funding in new SMEs and startups. That means something. We were quite low before. And we have 65 unicorn cities and so on, and we want to do it again, but specifically on quantum. This is not only about the different governments, it is also about the European Commission as well. This is a goal. And one of the things that differentiate us, this 18%, is not only because the startups are good, but it's also because the startups are usually undervaluated regarding some other particular countries. We have some. Okay, you have here some of them selecting. Okay, you can see that the first one is mine, but you can see here is Multiverse, but the second one is Riverline. You already know Alpine, Quantum Technologies, Quantum Machines. Okay, and the 4 of these 5 in 2020 was from Europe. Oh, and that's pretty much what I have to say. Probably you have more questions. Maybe I can answer some of them or whatever.
Thank you, Enrique.
Well, thank you very much for your time.
I suggest let's take a question or two as I load the next presentation.
Okay.
So this is a comment on your slide with global investments.
Yes.
I think one has to be careful there because some of those are annual and some of those are projected out over 5 or 10 years. So it's a little bit, one has to be careful with some of those numbers. Just a comment for people who are looking at that. You see that?
That could be.
Well, it's definitely true. China's not doing 10 billion a year. They're doing 10 billion over several years, maybe, and the U.S. is not doing more than one. It's clearly it's all.
I was just trying to find you.
Yeah, hiding down here. So it's just a comment to people to look at that carefully, and then some of those are not actual investments, but projected or potential investments, which may never actually come to pass. So one has to be careful.
Yes, these are total investments.
Well,
yes.
Not all of them are investments. Some are claims of investments that may or may not occur.